Da-dum. Da-dum. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna try not to do a bunch of complaining in this video because I've just been making some stupid beginner mistakes. This is all my test equipment. Now, if you watched my fuel pump video, that's over there too. But quick, yeah, we're gonna make this as quick as possible. So, been working on the VX800 Suzuki, and as you can see, I have it all ripped apart, and I got switches hanging here, and switches hanging here. This is the kickstand kill switch. Long story short, bought the bike, brought it home, got it running, had it running for a good long time, trying to run some cleaner through the carburetors, hoping that it would clean it up and run good. But yeah, my long story short, it's getting long. It shut off, and I had no power running to my start button, which is currently down there by the floor and should be up here on the handlebars. So I was starting to replace parts. We'll go into the big ordeal of what all we had to replace here. You can see the clutch kill switch is jumped here by a unwound paper clip. So started buying parts, because that's the easiest way to fix something when you don't know what's wrong, right? Replaced the starter solenoid, and then pulled the Owen off and realized it was fine. So we do have a new starter solenoid in there, or a used one. I like to use OEM parts if possible. And once we got that taken care of, I realized I wasn't getting power. This is where that plugs into the wiring harness. Wasn't getting power there. So we started chasing things, and first, power flows from the battery out to the clutch switch. So this was already jumped when I bought it, and it was all rusty, so I cleaned that all out. You can see it's pretty clean in there now. So I got in there with some what I used, PB Blaster, soaked it good, took a file, don't want to spin around too fast for you, took one of these files in there. I bought that at Harbor Freight, cleaned that all up, and still no power. So from the clutch switch, it has to run through, let's just show you, through here. Yeah, follow all your wires, get a wiring diagram. So it has to flow through there into, oh, my switches are not there. Well, let's go down here. This is all plugged in, by the way. So when I would try to start it, you know, this is on your handlebar, your kill switch, and your start button. This is all I would get. Nothing at all. So I ripped apart. Here you go. Here's all the starters I was trying to work on. I ripped apart. This is the parts that were on the bike when I got it. And the connectors in here, I have a video on it, I'll put it up, were pretty dirty. So I cleaned that all up, and voila, it tests fine. But in the meantime, I bought one that was said to be working. Plugged it in, I was like, we're gonna start, because this works. That's all I got, nothing. Kill switch on or off, I mean nothing. So there, that's on. So, still frustrated. Power got to go through there. Got to go. And then run through the side stand switch. That is so you can't start the bike with the side stand down or it in gear. So you either have to have this working so it doesn't start. You can pull in the clutch so you can start it in neutral, or start it with your kickstand up. So, what do? Pull this out, and that's the button. So this has to be depressed to start the bike if your clutch is not pulled in. Well, this does not seem to be working. I've run tests on it, as you should, and it's plugged in. But this would normally be going in here, down in behind this. I had to take a plate off of here. Actually, that's the engine mount, so that needs to go back on. But it was back in here. I had to cut off a zip tie. It was all nice and good. But I cut it all out, and then it runs down behind the drive shaft into its place down here. You can see the screw. There's 2 bolts that hold it in there. So, took that off, have tested it, and I believe it does not work. So now, I bought the bike with kill switch not working there, and I have plugged this into, see that plugs in right there, into where your clutch is. I believe that's not working either. So that's why I bought it. This was jumped because that completes the circuit. Now, that should start, as long as that should complete the circuit. Doesn't matter if this one doesn't work or not. It's either this or this. And when I bought the bike, this was working. Well, I cleaned all the rust out, no longer working. Come to find out, this is after hours of agony. When I put this battery, I didn't put this battery. This battery came out. I was charging it through a different battery, and when I was putting this battery in, I touched this. So it sparked an arc. I don't have a wiring diagram for my fuse box. Well, I actually started testing things correctly. And this fuse was in place right here. And I didn't know which one it was. But it was in this back corner. You see these are all labeled like this one. So this is where it was, right there. Looks good, doesn't it? I looked at them visually, all 4 of them. One's the main fuse, and nothing else would work if the main fuse is bad, but this didn't look bad, so I threw it back in. Now, you see in there by the bottom? It's completely separated. When I actually started testing these fuses, this one, I was getting power into the one side, but it wasn't crossing over to the other side. I mean, you look at that, it looks fine. Nothing burnt. But when you look in below, there you go. This was the problem the whole time. One of the first things I looked at, one of the first things you would do before you rip the entire bike apart. And this was the problem all along. Now this was in the manual. This is supposed to be a 10, so I actually replaced it with a 10. I mean, 15 would carry more, so you might, well, this would be fine. You don't want to go lower than 10, but you might heat up wires on the bike. So you should replace it with what, if it's stock, you should replace it with the recommended fuse. So there's now a 10 in its place. And guess what? Alright, so this doesn't work. We don't need to worry about that. This is jumped. So you gotta turn on your power. Now you see the neutral light's on. So that tells me that circuit's fine, because neutral would keep it, if it's in gear, it would keep it from starting also. So typically you would need to pull this in, but it's not plugged in. It's jumped. The wire's jumped. So this is all I wanted to do. Is, okay, that is on. That's all I needed. That is all I needed. Okay? So, there you go. Before you start ripping your bike apart, please, 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 don't just look at your fuses. Actually test them. And if you don't know which one it is, test them all. And, yeah. don't go through all the headaches and stress that I just did. But anyway, that is the story for today. I'll do a more in-depth video on where the power flows. But this is a 1990 Suzuki VX800. And now that I got all that figured out, I can start putting it all back together. And what I think I might do is run gasoline to it and see if I can run some more barium and B12 through it and hopefully get her idling nice and smooth, and all will be well. If I get it running without tearing the carburetors out, all will be well and I can ride. I do have parts. I've been buying parts that are missing, and we need to get some of this set up correctly. Like this is a clutch lever, or a clutch cable. That's supposed to go into the carburetor, and it breaks off into two because they're separate. And yeah, we'll have to do very in-depth videos on all the things I'm doing to this bike. But you heard it crank, and that's all I need to do. That's the gist of this video. If you like this and you want to see more of this motorcycle and others, subscribe and like and share and do all the things if you want to. And I'll see you in the next one. Have fun. Get out and ride. See you.